What's going on, world? What is going on? Happy New Year to my fans out there. Welcome to week 17 of 100 yards and running. Let's get right into it. We had some exciting week 17 games. I hope everybody have a happy and safe holiday season. I know I did. But let's get right into these games. Wednesday, Christmas Day, we had Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs going to Pittsburgh, going against Mike Tomlin and Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers, where the Chiefs was looking to battle to keep that number one seed in the AFC. And let's face it, I said this week too. The AFC runs through Arrowhead, and Kansas City went in Pittsburgh and got the W, beating the Steelers by a score of 29-10. Now the Chiefs, by getting this victory, they locked the number one seed in the AFC. And like I said, if you want to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC, you got to go to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs in order to do so. They're the defending champions. They're getting healthier now. They got Hollywood Brown back. Pacheco is back. Xavier Worthy is playing to his potential. The Chiefs is scary in the playoffs, man. Can they repeat? Who knows? Also, we had Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens going to Houston, taking on C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, where Lamar and the Ravens went in there and did what they're supposed to do. Now, I know everybody was excited about this game because of the halftime performance of Queen Bee, Beyonce herself, but the Ravens went in there and got the W. They got the job done, beating the Texans by a score of 31-2. You heard right, 31-2. To go Houston playing in a big game, and both of these games is on Netflix, by the way. Going into an environment like Houston and winning and headlining Beyonce all week to only put up 2 points is an embarrassment to Houston. I don't know what happened to C.J. Stroud that game. I don't know what happened to the Texans that game. But Lamar Jackson, and he's in a runner-up to be an MVP candidate this season, went in there and got the job done, throwing 4 touchdown passes, man, and running for another one. Come on. Baltimore is going to be a tough team to beat too. But if they want to get to the Super Bowl, can we see a repeat of last year's AFC Championship game between Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson? Let's see. Thursday, we had Seattle going into Chicago, taking on Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. Now, this was a low-scoring game. Seattle was trying to go in there, keeping their playoff hopes alive to get the W. Like I said, this was a low-scoring game. Seattle got the W by winning 6-3. And this was a field goal game all the way. Both defense was determined. None of these teams could score touchdowns, but Seattle's two field goals, getting the job done, getting the W, pushing their playoff hopes. Can they make the playoffs? We're going to talk about that later on. Saturday, another team that was playing for their playoff hopes was the Chargers, the LA Chargers, playing host to the New England Patriots, where the Chargers went in there and got the job done. Offense, defense, and special teams was in there cooking. And Justin Herbert went in there, did what he's supposed to do. John Harbaugh coached that team correctly. The Patriots only put up 7 points, where the Chargers defeated them 40-7. Another team that was looking to push their hopes into the playoffs, which I didn't think they were going to make it in the first place, is the Cincinnati Bengals, playing host to a team that is in the playoffs, that is a wild card to me, and Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos, where Joe Burrow in overtime went in there and got the job done, beating the Broncos by a score of 30-24. Now, my thing with the Bengals is they waited too late to get hot. Everybody, and I've been saying this since week 1. When you go in there, you got to start off hot. When you're a team that's been there, look what happened with the 49ers. And we're going to talk about the 49ers down the road. But to start off slow, to start off like 0-3, 0-4, or 0-5 for that matter. Now I get that teams came back and won 8 straight, won 9 straight. But if you start slow, your team is not going to make a playoff push. The Bengals probably finishing 8-8, and it sucks for them because they were a team that was in the playoffs, or the Super Bowl not too long ago, beating Patrick Mahomes. But this year, it's not their year. They didn't start off hot, and so they're on the outside looking in and hoping for other teams to lose so they can force their way into the playoffs. Moving on, the Cardinals and the Rams in LA. Now, if the Rams win this game, that means Seattle was out. Like I said, Seattle played the Bears on Thursday, and they needed a Rams loss. So this win by the Rams, and they played host to the Cardinals, Matthew Stafford did enough with Nakua and Kupp and all those guys that on the receiving core, getting the job done, officially eliminating Seattle from the playoffs by getting this victory. The Rams went in there and got the job done, winning by a score of 13-9. With this win, the Rams take the division and going into the playoffs, eliminating Seattle from the playoffs. So Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks will be outside of the playoffs, looking at other teams, trying to get that hope to go to the Super Bowl to play possibly Kansas City. Who knows? Sunday, we had an AFC rivalry game. We had Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets going into Buffalo against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Now, this guy right here, Josh Allen, to me, should be the MVP. I know Lamar Jackson is right there. I know some people say give it to Derrick Henry or give it to Saquon Barkley. No. What Josh Allen did with this team after losing Stephon Diggs and after losing a couple of players that he did to go at home and you played the Jets. Let's face it, the Jets is not in the playoffs. New York teams this year, they didn't do that good. And Buffalo, let's see what y'all could do. But Buffalo at home got the job done. They was creaming the Jets this whole game. I was watching this game and I was shaking my head while I was watching it. But that's neither here nor there. Buffalo and Josh Allen got the job done, beating the Jets by a score of 40-14. Jets fans, the problem is this. After losing your coach, you weren't going to do nothing all season long. Then Aaron Rodgers comes in. Then you bring in Devontae Adams. Now, Aaron Rodgers talk about he wants to take a pay cut. Leave Aaron Rodgers alone. Let him go. Draft a quarterback that can help you and your team possibly be a playoff team. Who knows who that quarterback is? I know who it's not. It's not Aaron Rodgers. And he gets the worst quarterback of the week this week because that performance he put on, interception, turnover, interception, turnover, that's not the Aaron Rodgers I remember. And this was unacceptable. Moving on. The Titans and the Jaguars. These are two more teams that is not in the playoffs. But the Jaguars going in there, getting the victory, winning by a score of 20-13. Another low-scoring game. By the way, Trevor Lawrence and the Jags never going to make the playoffs. Well, let's see Will Levis and the Titans. They could be a playoff team next year. This year, I don't know. They could be a wild card, and they're going to get bumped the first round if they are in it. So these are battling for position in the playoffs. So I don't know what's going on with that. Moving on, we had two great teams going at it this week, and I'm going to keep talking about it. But moving on to the playoffs, we had Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing host to a team that's not in the playoffs at all, the Carolina Panthers. And Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks playing at home, getting the job done, crushing Bryce Young and the Panthers, beating them by a score of 48-14. Now, if that's not a whooping, I don't know what is, ladies and gentlemen. When I was watching this game, I was like, wow. The Buccaneers might really want to make the playoffs. Can it be a threat? The Buccaneers are reminding me of what the 49ers did last year. The 49ers was that hot team going in. They possibly made the Super Bowl. They didn't win, but here we are. Moving on to two teams that's also not in the play. There's a lot of teams that's not in the playoffs, but trying to make that push for this draft coming up. We had the Raiders going against the Saints, where the Raiders crushed the Saints 25-10. Both of these teams looking for head coaches. The Saints firing their head coach, and they just need to revamp their whole entire football team. Now, I know Saints fans are looking at me with a lot of disappointment right now, but let's face it. Like I said before, slow starts. How can you make the playoffs like that? It's impossible. Moving on to a team, and everybody's like, oh, this is America's favorite team. No, it's not. And I want everybody to stop that debate right now. Stop calling Dallas America's favorite team, because they are not America's favorite team. Moving to the NFC East, and this division to me, it's been won by the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's face it. Saquon Barkley is on the verge of breaking a record that we have never seen broken in the National Football League since Eric Dickerson. And most people don't know who Eric Dickerson is. One of the greatest running backs of all time. And this man, Saquon Barkley, the guy that the Giants let go, he's on the verge of breaking his record of becoming the greatest running back of all time in this generation that we have seen. The Eagles playing host to the Cowboys fly. Eagles fly. They flew all right. They flew all over Dallas, beating them by a score of 41-7. That is sad. That is heartbreaking. And like I said, the Eagles are positioning themselves to be in the playoffs. Can they be a threat? Let's see. We don't know what the playoffs is, because any team can win any given Sunday. And we're seeing that this week. Moving on. And it took them long enough to do this, but I'm clapping for them this week. The New York Giants got their first home win of the season, beating the Indianapolis Colts by a score of 45-33. Now, y'all wait to the end of the season to actually put up 45 points? I was amazed when I see this game, because the Colts was trying to put up a fight, but the Giants was determined to finish the season and the new year off with a bang. Let's go out there and get a home win. And that's what they did. Kudos to Brian Dable and the New York Football Giants for getting your first home win of the season. And I'm saying that with a lot of sarcasm. Forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, but this is just me. I'm keeping it real. Moving on to a team that also was looking for their playoff hopes. The Miami Dolphins are playing host to the Cleveland Browns, where Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins got the job done, winning by a score of 20-3. Now, Cleveland hasn't been the same. They've been looking for quarterback after quarterback. That offensive line wasn't great. That defense, depending on Myles Garrett a lot, he's battling through injuries. It wasn't a good year for Cleveland at all. So The Dolphins went in there and they were supposed to, and they did what they supposed to do. Now there possibly could be a wild card in the playoffs. There another team on the outside looking in. This next week, week 18, is going to determine a lot of the NFL and who's in and who's out. Moving on to an interesting game to me this week, and this team is impressed me this whole season. And I've been saying that this quarterback, everybody, he's a great backup, but I was like, he could possibly be MVP, if you ask me. And I'm talking about Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings playing host to Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Now, this game was crazy. It was going back and forth. The Vikings went in there and showed what they were made of, keeping this record and keeping this interesting. And here's where it gets interesting. The Vikings getting the W by a score of 27-25. And I'm going to tell you why this is interesting. Because next week, week 18, Sunday night, Lions, Vikings, the winner of that game gets first place in the NFC. The loser drops all the way down to the 5th seed. Now, here's what's interesting about this. Both of these teams are 14-2. Who would have thought that the Vikings would be 14-2? Which is crazy to me. You want to know what else is crazy? And I got to give this team a lot of credit. Everybody's been getting on him. And to me, he's Rookie of the Year. Just give it to him. And you know who I'm talking about. I am talking about Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. And they're playing host to Michael Penix Jr. and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Atlanta, if you're looking at me and all these fans, if the Atlanta fans, if you're listening to me, Michael Penix Jr. should have been started since week 1. To pay Kirk Cousins all of this money, to waste talent on this team, and for this team to not make the playoffs because of Kirk Cousins is unacceptable. I don't know why y'all brought him in here in the first place, and this is the reason that the Vikings let him go. But overtime, Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders got the job done, winning by a score of 30-24. Now, if you would look at Jaden Daniels, this kid is spectacular. This kid has been on fire. This kid is a showstopper. This kid is amazing. His talent, skills, incredible. What he did with this team this season impressed me. And like I said, Jaden Daniels should be Rookie of the Year right now. All season long, he's been proven wrong. Yeah, he has some speed bumps. We saw that from C.J. Stroud the year before that. This kid, Jaden Daniels, is something special to watch. And he's my most improved player of the week this week, Jaden Daniels. Moving on. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Monday night, last night, we had the Lions going to the San Francisco 49ers, going to the Bay Area, where they play host to the Niners. Now, like I said, what I said earlier, this next week makes this next game real interesting because Detroit needed this win, and they got the W, winning by a score of 40-34. And this game could have went either way. The problem with San Francisco is injuries. Brock Purdy went down for a couple of weeks. McCaffrey went down for a couple of weeks and came back. Debo wasn't healthy. Ayuk came back. It was a mess in the Bay Area. But Detroit went in there and got the job done. Now, this is why I said Next week's game is interesting because Lions, Vikings, the winner of that game gets first place in the NFC. Period. Now, do they have the best record in the NFL? No. That belongs to Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. By losing one game all year with a 15-1 record to lock down that number one seed and to relax they bye week and then coming in next week to test the waters because you know teams got to come to your house in order to play in the Super Bowl. But next week, we got the Lions, we got the Vikings. Winner takes first place. I don't know who to call on this game, but if I had to pick one, I got to give it to the Lions. Here's why. Because what Dan Campbell did with the Lions all year long, what he did with this team was simply amazing. How he carried these guys, losing a couple of guys to help your offense and defense, losing Hutch at the beginning at the middle of the year was a big blow, but bringing in Zadarius Smith to keep that kind of pressure on these teams going into the playoffs was a very smart move on Detroit's end. But now, here's where it gets tricky. You're playing a great defensive-minded coach and Brian Flores, and what he did with the Vikings and what the Vikings are going through and dedicating their games to Randy Moss each and every week, proving the Vikings are proving that, hey, we are for real too. It's a lot of teams that can shock us and just go on this amazing run and prove everybody wrong. We see it every year in NBA, and we're seeing it in the NFL. Folks, please be careful and be mindful that 2025 is going to be bigger and better things. We got a lot of great shows coming in, and I'm going to keep this thing going. We got the playoffs coming in. I'm excited about the playoffs. I'm excited about these games next week. I'm excited. Y'all excited. I want to thank y'all for tuning in for me, for rocking with me for 2024. I want to say Happy New Year to my family and my friends. Happy New Year to my brother. Happy New Year to my brothers. Let me make that plural, because if we got each other, we hold each other down. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't have done this without them. You know what I'm saying? So I love y'all for that. Please be safe. 2025, we on the bigger and better things. Only way is up. So let's keep it going. Let's keep it vibing. I want to thank my fans for vibing with me this year. Happy New Year to all of y'all. Be safe. Stay blessed. Join me next year as we dive into week 18, going into the playoffs and going into the Super Bowl. I'm excited. I know y'all excited. Thank you. Be safe. Drink responsibly. Be responsibly. Be safe. Be blessed. I'm your boy Reg. Peace and love. We out of here. Happy New Year to y'all. I think my engineer is asleep, but I'm going to keep on vibing with y'all. Like I said, 2025, we on to bigger and better things. I'm excited. I hope y'all excited. Be safe. We got a lot of great games coming in next week. Like I said, Happy New Year to all of my fans out there. Thank y'all for tuning in with me. Thank y'all for vibing with me, tuning in with me and my brothers. We couldn't have done this without y'all. And I hope y'all continue to rock with us going into 2025 because we're excited. I'm excited. I hope y'all excited. Like I said, thank y'all for vibing with me. Thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully, my engineer in the back, I hope he stays safe. I'm Reggie. Peace and love. Stay safe. Happy New Year, y'all.